My goodness, brother Ernest, you have shared so many gems. I mean, I think I'm needing some help, digesting it. So I am so glad and thankful that you were able to stick around for this
Yeah.
Q&A, right? Because I know that I have some questions and Sister Zakira has some questions, as well. So, the one thing, well, there were so many things. I can't even say that there was just one thing that I appreciated. But one of the things that I appreciated was you talking about how important it is to affirm your daughter, right? And early on, starting early with this. And one of the things that I know is that a lot of times when we praise our daughters, we praise them for how they look. We praise
Mhm.
them for what they're wearing. That's a cute skirt or cute dress or cute purse or what have you. But you take that a step further. So I think it becomes a challenge when girls are only praised for their
Yeah.
looks, right? Because that's where they place their self worth and
Right.
their value. But you take that a step further and you say that we have to affirm daughters for them being worthy and valuable and smart. So what are some examples of what dads for could actually say, for those dads who have never done that,
Mhm.
like what could they say? Like, give us the scenario. They in the car or they on for a walk, and how
Yeah.
could they throw that in there?
Well, I want to say, first of all, I do think it's important, especially as fathers, for us to compliment our daughters on how they look, right? So the reason why that's important is because when I talk about Nug Nug and Bobo, right, they gonna tell her. So you don't want the first person to tell her and compliment her on her looks to come from somebody outside your house, from another guy, right? But also as fathers, we definitely have to go deeper than just that, deeper than just the surface, because we know that she's more than just, a surface person, right? And so even with us and our new fathers who may be new to the concept, one of the things that I want you to do, if you don't believe that you know what to say, but I think you do know what to say, but even if you think that, okay, I don't know what to say, think about the qualities that you want to see in her, that you want to see in her. And then think of her as a whole person, not just as your little girl, but think of her as a grown woman. What are the things that you can input in her now, or that you would like to see in her now, that will also manifest in her life as an adult woman? So, what are those things? What are being beautiful on the outside, but also on the inside? Being able to control your emotions, being able to carry yourself a certain way, being able to set up boundaries to protect you from men who may come into your life and might not have the best intentions at heart, to be able to see that, right? And so we're speaking into our daughters that you are smart, you are beautiful, but then you are wise also, right? You are in control of yourself. You watch and you know how to express yourself effectively through your words without coming off in a negative viewpoint, right? To be able to express yourself in a way that it can be received by the other person, right? So you don't have to step outside of your character in order to let your voice be heard. But now you can express how you feel, say what you mean what you say, but do it in a way that it can be received. And that way you still looked at as the woman that you are and not look different because it came off wrong. So those, whatever those things are that you as a father see in your daughter now, or even project to see in her and want to see in her as a young woman, an adult woman, those are the things you start speaking into her early enough where she can start manifesting that in her life and becoming that woman that you want her to be.
That's yo, that's
Woo! Finger
that is what I'm
snaps.
saying. And I'm like, wait, I got another question, but I have a question kind of from the flip side, right? Okay, so I'm now an adult daughter, I'm now an adult woman, but I have so much now to unlock, unblock, unlearn. And so, just from your session, I love the part. I was thinking about the movie The Help. You were smart,
Mhm.
you beautiful, you were kind. But then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how do I get to that part? What thought process can you give for wanting to even have that first step to really unravel all of that, right? I was raised and I didn't have that mentality, and I really want to unlearn all of that. What's your first step tip?
So it's sort of the same step, right? So if you're doing it for yourself, then again, project with yourself. What are those things, those values, and those affirmations that you want to see in yourself, right? And so that's where we start speaking even to ourselves. So every morning, what I did to make it easy for myself, right? So I wrote out a whole list of affirmations that I say to myself every morning. But not only did I say them or did I write them, but I also made a video of them, right? And I put a little fancy background with the running water and like a waterfall or something that is on. But I recorded myself speaking these to myself. And so now in the morning, whether I'm saying them physically myself or I just push play while I'm getting dressed and I'm hearing my own voice speak to myself the affirmations that I want to start my day with, right? That I'm grateful for waking up in the morning, that I'm grateful for my family, friends, and loved ones, that I'm grateful for the opportunities that I'm going to receive that day, right? So these are all affirmations that I speak to myself. So you still have to take that same mindset of what are the things that I want to come into my life? What are the things that I want to speak into my life? And then you write those things down and begin to say those things to yourself. And then sooner or later, it's going to become second nature. And not only are you going to hear it and think it, but you're going to start becoming it. Because now, and it's real easy for a person that's coming from themselves because it's already in you. Because if it wasn't in you, you couldn't even think of it. So it's already in you. The desire is in you. But as you begin to affirm yourself and walk in it, then you begin to become that very thing that you're speaking over your life.
Fire. This is fire, Brother Ernest. I really, really like that. What you're suggesting is that to be an incredible dad, to be an incredible person, we have to work on self.
Right.
So these affirmations are not just affirming our daughter, but as parents, as people, as grown folks, we need to have our own affirmations. And as you were talking about your ritual, of
Mhm.
listening to, first of all, just thinking to write down the affirmations, thinking to make a video, make it fancy, make it for you. As you were talking about that, I was thinking, wow, what if every daddy on the planet did that?
Mhm.
How powerful that would be. Like that could like change the world. Like everybody would be singing Kumbaya if they had, their own
Yeah.
affirmations and filled themselves up. You know, one of the other things that I wanted to ask about is the pour for,
Mhm.
because that, Brother Ernest,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. So how did you even figure out these pour for, the different types of being abusive, the defamation, being controlling? Like, how did you even come up with those?
And I would add,
Well,
I made up an acronym. I wrote down my own acronym to remember, and I kind of abbreviated it as CAD, but with two A's. But go ahead.
okay. So when I thought about the pour for, I thought about it from two ways. Because as I shared my story of how I even came to write the book, it was because of relationships that I had with fatherless daughters, and so some of those things, some of those attributes I saw in them, right? So what made me think of, okay, these are the poor for what you are attracting. But on the other side, as a man, I know these guys, right? Some of them, unfortunately, are some of my friends. Some of them are some of my family, some of the guys that I know. So I know these guys that's attracting or attracted to these daughters who some of them can even see that there's something missing. They can see that you're longing for something. And so they show up to provide enough to get whatever it is that they're trying to get from you. So unfortunately, they'll come with the pour for, but because they know you're longing for something and you accept it, if you don't know better. And so just like you may not know as a fatherless daughter the things that you're missing, but as a guy, he definitely knows what you're missing. And so when he sees you and sees the brokenness, sometimes there are those who will come in with the pour for, because even those guys usually have some kind of healing they need themselves, right? And so they're reflecting it on you. And one of the things that I don't know if I remember, if I don't remember if I mentioned it in our talk, but what I realized after writing the core four and having these discussions, I realized that the core four is not just for our daughters, it's for our sons too, right? They need them same values. to be poured into from their father, them same values that our daughters need, our sons need. And unfortunately, sometimes our sons grow up without that also. And so you have a fatherless daughter and a fatherless son coming into a relationship and trying to work in the midst of this relationship from both two broken spaces, but just coming at it from two different aspects. And that's where you get the poor for, because they're coming in, they're broken, they see your brokenness, and so it just conflict. And unfortunately, sometimes when we're not healed, when we don't know what the core values that we should receive or haven't received from our fathers, then sometimes we accept things that we shouldn't accept.
Right. And I just love your passion for healing, right? Hence the deal, heal, and then you can fulfill, right? I just love that your focus, in that particular area. And, in this Q&A, we got about 4 minutes left, somewhere around there. And I just want to make sure, Brother Ernest, that we don't run out of time before there's anything else that you want to emphasize, that maybe I'm not, on top of, or Sister Zakira is not on top of. Anything else that you want to make sure to really drive home with our most valuable dads?
Yeah. So for our dads, I know I have the core four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father, right? But I also wrote an ebook for our sons that's called From Males to Men, right? So it's a like a male mentoring book for our young boys that's transitioning into a young adulthood. So both of those can be found at ebooksbyejames.com. Try to make it real simple. ebooksbyejames.com. But you could just go there as a resource, to get those two things. And I will also tell any dad or advise any dad to listen to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, because you're not only getting my viewpoint, but you're getting viewpoints of all dads from different stages, right? So our very first guest on the podcast, at the time when we recorded, his daughter was only 2 months. So it's his first child, and it was a girl. And so I wanted to lead with him for that purpose. So I tell all my guests, hey, pretend that you're having a conversation, but think of him in mind, because he's just starting his journey. So what advice can you give, or what experiences can you share with him that he can take away from it to be able to add into his daughter and take on his journey? And so I definitely would encourage fathers to listen to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And of course we have some daughters on. We had Dr. Carmen, one of my first guests, that was on the podcast. Definitely, that was very entertaining conversation that we had, talking about dads and periods, right? And our daughters, coming into that part of womanhood, and usually there's a separation between the daughters and the dads at that time, but working to bring that back together. So I'm very happy to be a part of this. Very happy to have met Dr. Carmen, and also to have been introduced to Senegal and everything that you guys got going on. And yeah, so I just would tell our dads, definitely go check out ebooksbyejames.com and check out the Girl Dad Discussions podcast.
Fantastic. And before we sign off, we have about a minute and a half left. So tell us, Brother Ernest, what's happening in the future? What's on the horizon? What's coming?
I'm definitely stepping into the speaking, more into my speaking thing. I actually spoke at a high school this morning, at Rich Township High School in Olympia Fields out in Illinois, and that was wonderful. I got some other speaking engagements coming up. I actually got a speaking engagement next week. We're having a girl dad tea party with the dads and their daughters, and I'll be the speaker for that. So yeah, we got a lot of things going on, but that's my big thing now this year. I really want to press into doing more actual in-person speaking events. Definitely doing the podcast, keep doing guest appearances on podcasts, but I want to get in the building now and actually get before people.
Fantastic. Well, it is about time for us to wrap up. I want to encourage all the most valuable dads who are watching, and the mamas and the uncles and the aunties and everybody who is watching, to check out Brother Earnest. You can get him on Instagram at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Get all his ebooks. He got like 4 of them. So get all of them.
I appreciate that.
Get all of them. This brother is definitely the truth. He's very authentic. We had a chance to hang out a little bit in Illinois, and I just want to wish you all the joy that you can stand. All right, take care.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye
guys.
bye.